Welcome to DSM's Black Art Matter series. We're here today with Alexandria Morris, who is a Dallas ISD dance educator and the founder of MELAmoves. Welcome, Alexandria.
Thank you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good, good. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we're going to jump right into the conversation. And the first question we ask each of our guests on every episode is, what does Black identity mean to and for you?
So Black identity, to me, is just like describing me. I'm multi-layered. Unspoken heroes. We give the rhythm to the world. Yeah. We're the creators of everything, I feel like. And for me, it's just being able to rise to the occasion and showing up and showing out.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Can you unpack a little bit what you mean by multi-layered? Because we hear that phrase a lot in our conversations on this series. And what is that for you?
Being multi-layered is just what it is. Like, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a educator, I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, I'm a fighter, I'm a lover, I'm a nurturer. Like, it's just telling who you are, your characteristics, and all of that.
Yes. And how do all of those layers play into kind of that powerful notion that you described of that Black identity that you have? Is it each its own segment, or do they all work together to create what is this overall Black identity for you?
Yeah, they have to work together, because my educator sense can't overpower who I am as a mother. My nurturer sense can't overpower the hustle in me, like the power that I have in myself. They all have to work together in order for me to be who I am sitting in front of you today.
Yeah, I love that. You also mentioned the notion of, unsung heroes when it comes to Black identity. Can you unpack that a little bit for us too, and what you think and mean by that?
Woo, we have enough time? No.
We have all the time.
All the time. So the unsung heroes, being this educator, every day is a teaching moment. I'm learning to use the internet more, using those resources more, instead of relying on my own understanding of whatever things are. And I've noticed, like, throughout history, there's things that's been, censored, that I didn't find out till I was older. And I was like, whoa, like, why wasn't this given to me by a teacher that looked like me or that didn't look like me? There was a point where they were supposed to educate us, and we didn't get that education at that point. And being a mother, that's my job in this world, to make sure that my kids are not in the same, not failures, but they see the situation and they rise from it.
Right. So when you realized what had not been taught to you, how did that transform how you saw your Black identity and you saw your Blackness?
So it transformed me to be one of those advocates. Like, if you hear my friends, they'll say, like, no, she likes to be in the background. But for the last year, I do believe that God is, like, pushing me into my purpose and making me want to stand in my purpose, because I can't sit back anymore.
Right.
Especially after, what happened in June with George Floyd, like, all of these things, being a mother of a Black son, like, how am I going to say that I'm all for the arts and I can't even stand up for the person that I gave life to? So that's just me being in my purpose.
Yeah, I love that. I'm curious, you being an educator in the classroom and going back and knowing that you weren't taught some things that you should have been taught by people who look like you. How does that drive your purpose in the classroom, especially through your art form of dance with your students?
So I try to be that real voice for them. And when I say real, we try to censor a lot for the kids, because we say, like, no, that it's not their time for them to know. And, like, no, I let all of my kids that come into my dance room, like, no, there's real life. It will slap you in the face. You will get some up times and you'll get some down times, but in that time, you define who you are in that moment. I always try to have a real conversation with them, because in all actuality, that's what my life is. I'm a living testimony. I had my son when I was 17. So I know where they are. I try to tell them, do not, like, you have the rest of your life to be an adult. Yeah. Like, there's no rush in it. When you get there, you go like, ooh, let me go back to my high school years. Like, I try to be that mother figure that, not saying I didn't have that in my life. My mom taught me everything. But I wish it was like more teachers that was like, no, like, this is the real deal. I'm telling you like an unbiased opinion. Like, this is what's going to happen if you don't act right in this classroom. And I try to get that to all my students.
Yeah. So being a mother yourself of 2 children at home, and then being a mother to the hundreds of children that you have in the classroom, that has to be quite a daunting task to take on, right? Can you talk to us a little bit about, one, being the mother in the classroom and how you have those conversations with literally hundreds of students that you see each school year and that switch out each school year, versus the what you might be interacting with and talking about with your own 2 children at home?
So being the mother in the classroom, I don't know how to turn off being the mother at home. Like, I try to make sure that they understand, like, when you come into my classroom, I love you. Like, and a lot of kids, they don't hear that. Like, I've noticed that. Like, no, I actually love you. Like, you don't even know me. Like, no, I love you, the person that you are in front of me. And I think that's very important for them to hear that from someone that I don't even have to say it, but they feel it when they come in my room. And it's, kind of hard to say, but when you see those kids when they graduate, and they'll tell me, like, Miss A, like, you, like, that day that we had that talk, like, you shaped me up, like, and I appreciate you for that, like, and that's the best feeling in the world for me. And then as far as my kids at home, they know, like, yeah, mom is, the teacher in the classroom, but she's also teaching me at home. Like, I try to, over mom them all the time. And if you hear, like, if you see my kids, they'll be like, oh, here she comes. But I do try to give them that space to say, okay, I know how it was, like, when I was your age. I'm going to talk it out, but just know, like, I'm still your mama at the end of the day. Like, I try to give that in both aspects.
That's great, especially that notion that you talk about of saying I love you to your students, to make sure they know that they are loved. That's so wonderful and needed by our students.
Yes.
You also mentioned, bringing social justice topics into your classroom. How do you handle that, and what is that process like for you and your students as you go through that?
So social justice, very touchy, and you have to approach it very sensible. But at the same time, you can't not talk about it. I try to make it a learning experience for them. Like, where, like, a year ago, we had a competition, and my officers for my drill team, we danced to Strange Fruit. And my the demographics of my school is half black and half Hispanic. So of course the Hispanic kid was like, "What, Strange Fruit? What are we talking about?" So I was like, "Okay, wait. Let's stop. Let's look at the words of Strange Fruit. What do you think this means? What do you think this is?" And they was like, "Oh, well, she talking about some kind of fruit." And I was like, "No, okay, get your phones, pull out your devices. We're going to research this because it's a feeling behind the movement that I really care about. That's what my aesthetics is when I choreograph anything. How do you feel in the moment? And if you don't understand this song and how it feels to me, you will never get what I'm trying to get in this moment."
Love all of that. Yes. So it sounds like social justice and topics of social justice really play a heavy role in when you're working with your students, when you're choreographing with your students, and the type of dances that you're teaching your students.
Yes.
Can you expand just a bit more on how you have personally seen those conversations really blend into the movement as you work with your students on a piece of choreography?
So, like I said, it's all about the feeling of the movement. So after we did the research for that one particular piece, I started to teach them, like, the movements, neck swinging, and like I would show them the movement. And like if it was a girl that wasn't there that day, she like, and they were teaching her, they was like, okay, when Miss A was teaching us, it's about this feeling, like this feeling of not being able to breathe. So when we do this, hold your breath. Like, and to see kids being able to have that conversation with somebody else that didn't do as much research as them, that's a light bulb moment for myself.
Right. And you also oversee cheer, drill, and the dance program at your high school.
Yes.
3 very different styles of dance. How do you approach that, both from a classroom teaching point of view and interacting with your students, but also infusing those social justice topics within each of those different forms of your dance programs?
I think I try to make it relevant for the kids. I don't try to sugarcoat what's happening in the world. I let them, we have powwows, we cry, like we sit in a circle, talk about what's not happening or what is happening. And the girls, like kids really do understand what's happening. And if they don't have that avenue to talk about it, like, what are we doing? Like, why are we doing this? And I try to make sure that we do this at least once a month. And if not, then I'm not doing my justice to them. And as far as cheer and dance and drill, that's just a crazy whirlwind that I try to, keep together as a sense, because at the end of the day, women, we have this, connotation, like we can be backbiting, we can gossip, we don't really empower each other. And I think what I have instilled in my girls for the last 3 years that I've been over them, that we are in this together. Like we're a team, we're a family, we love each other. We don't talk about each other in that kind of sense. And if we do, there's something that we need to talk about, because we're growing into young women. And if we can't talk about our issues now, what do we, like, why are we doing this?
Yeah, exactly. I want to switch gears here a bit to your company, MELAmoves. One, can you talk to us about just the name of your company and where that originated from? And then a little bit about the mission and what you strive to do through that company. So
MELAmoves was an idea, not just for myself, but I'm going to talk about myself because we're here. 5 years, when I graduated, 2010, I went to UNT Dallas, and I was getting a business major. And the whole point of me getting a business major was so that I can create my own dance studio and do all this good stuff. But in that time of me finding myself, I was like, well, you can't teach dance if you're not accredited. Nobody will come to you.
Right.
I was like, oh, okay, wait. I didn't think this all the way through. So then I went to Texas Women's University and majored in dance. And that's where I found my friends that I can talk to about anything. And Cinco de Mayo 2018, we came together, having fun. And then we really started to talk about the lack of representation of us in dance. And we started talking about when we were in high school, middle school. We all had different experiences, but the same at the same time. Like, I wanted to be in a dance program my whole life. Like, that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to dance. But there was no opportunities. My mom was a single mother. How was she going to provide $500 for just like a month section for me? Like, that was a whole bill. Like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, why won't we create something that is going to be beneficial for little girls like us or little boys like us that look like us? Why can't we create something that's cost effective but give them the exact same training as a notable studio? And that's where MELAmoves came from. And we wanted to give all of our little selves something to look forward to. And I feel like we are... It was a 2-year break, but now we are going to a better direction, and I love it. I'm living in it, and I'm excited about what's happening.
Incredibly exciting. And one thing you just touched on is that lack of representation that you saw growing up through your career, and lack of representation of those people who look like us in the dance world. Do you still see that lack of representation today? Do you think it's getting better? Where do you think the dance industry stands right now?
We are going in the right direction, but there's still ways that we could be better. There, I know when I was younger, there wasn't a show like Bring It. Like that was like lit. Like I love it. Like there wasn't a show about HBCU dance teams. There wasn't a show about being in a HBCU band, being in that moment. We are definitely walking in the right direction, but I just feel like what are they not saying that they're not doing it. I just haven't seen it. But how can we reach back to those kids, like in our own community or in another community that look like ours? Like, how are you reaching back to make this same opportunity for them?
Yeah. So what does true equity and representation look like for you in the dance industry, in the dance sector?
That would mean, that's a lot to unpack. Being equitable is just showing the same opportunities to everybody. Like, you can't say like, oh yeah, we want the culture, we want the African, we want the jazz, we want the HBCU, and then you only call us around Black History Month, or you only call us when they need us. You know, like that's the only thing that I don't like. Like, if we're going to talk about equitable dances for Black and brown students, don't just call us on Hispanic Heritage Month. Don't just call us when you need a folklorico piece.
Yeah.
Like, don't do that, because now you're just limiting us and our magic.
Right.
Like my friend Devondre said, you're just limiting us and our magic. Like, we're so more than African. We're so much more than folklorico. Even though those are our cultures, we can do so much more.
Yeah. So how, in your experience, has the district supported that push towards more representation, towards more equity for, Black and brown students within the district, and then further on in their careers, and even furthering the careers of the teachers that are teaching those students?
Well, Dallas this year, they started a cultural bias kind of PD. I feel like that was a good step in the a beginning step. But then there's still things that they could do more. It's just, I don't know how to Dallas. Because I'm a product of Dallas ISD.
That says a lot by itself, just by saying Dallas.
I'm a product of Dallas ISD. So me trying to, saying that they didn't do as much, like, then they're saying that I'm not as much. Like, Dallas has given me everything that I feel that I needed in that moment. Now that we see that we are going, like, more social justice, more talking about race in the classrooms as well as in the world, I feel like it should be more opportunities for the kids to talk, like to lift every voice and sing. Like, my dancer had a wonderful time doing that. It has to be more, just more. Just more, just so that our kids know that they're not a second thought.
Yeah. And it sounds like you certainly put student voice at the top in your classroom.
Yes.
Like, student voice is centered there. Do you feel like student voice is being centered in the district when planning activities and when planning what programs look and sound like, or can there be more of that as well?
It can definitely be more of that. If they heard all of the conversations that I've had with my kids, they see it. This year, for cheer, because I'm over cheer, cheer was able to go to at least 4 competitions this year. Drill only got to go to football games. And to see the seniors on my drill team be like, well, what are we going to do? Like, what? And, we could have done a virtual competition, but that's not the same as going in person like cheer got to do.
Yeah.
And I feel like if there was a creative side, because we are dancers and, creative people, it could have been a different way of approaching that, so that everybody had the same 4 opportunities to dance, and it didn't have to be virtual.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that experience, that honesty with us. I'm going to switch gears here again.
Okay.
And I want to kind of jump back to something you mentioned, and that's that you had your son at 17. Can you talk about, as a Black woman, what that was, what that process was like for you?
Ooh.
what that stage in your life was like and how you overcame, both the beauty and the obstacle of that situation.
Yes. That was a very defining moment for me. When I found out I was pregnant, I was 5 months already.
Wow.
I had just been made captain of my majorette team. I was vice president of the senior class, happy-go-lucky. And then I was 5 months pregnant, and everything stopped in that one moment. And I thank my mom for the love that she showed me, because we've seen those stories where, you got pregnant, you got to drop out, you got to do this, you got to do that, da. But my mom was like, so you feel it finishing and you're still going to college. That's not a not thing that you're not doing. You have the support, and I'm going to give it to you. You just have to now work harder.
Right.
Because you have somebody looking up to you.
Yeah.
It was hard because I don't want to cry. It was hard because all my friends, were able to do just about everything, but I had a son. And not saying that I didn't love my son, but, being a child in that moment. I didn't have a prom date. My son took me to prom. It was, obviously I'm still hurt about it, but it really was a defining moment for myself, knowing that though I made a mistake, I was trying to be grown when I wasn't supposed to be grown, it didn't deter me from my purpose.
Right.
Because of that, I was able to find friends at Texas Women's University, and I was able to create MELAmoves. I was able to still graduate. Number 13 in my class in high school, and I graduated college with a 3.0. Didn't stop me. People thought it would, because you would be surprised how many conversations that I had with teachers that was like, oh, I thought the world of you, and now you're not saying that I was a disappointment, but the way that they were saying it,
right,
it made it sound like I was a disappointment. What did I do?
Yeah.
And I try to make sure when there are girls at my school that I see are pregnant, I say, you still have to do it. You still have to go to college. You still have to make your child proud of you. And if you need any help, I'm here. I can talk you through it. You can cry on my shoulder, all of that, because that's what I wish I would have had when I was in high school. Whew.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so beautiful to hear that, like you said, it wasn't a deterrent to your purpose. It sounded like it just furthered and pushed you more towards your purpose. And the way you talk about your son and your daughter and the students in your classroom, we really can sense that love that you have for them. And I thank you just for giving all of that to your students and to your own kids as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. Hard to follow up on that.
I know.
But I want to kind of wrap us up here with one final question. And that is, what is your hope for those future generations that you're seeing both in your classroom and within your own children?
I hope that by me be doing just the small, they'll take that extra step for me. While in MELAmoves and Ascension Arts Project, we try to advocate for the kids, but our main goal is to make well-rounded artists that can articulate how they feel, how they love about their passion, what they want to do about their passion. And by us having that area for them, they can take the torch and keep on walking for us, because we are still ever changing, and we won't know the same things that we know now in 10 years. And hopefully those kids that we touch, they can take the torch and keep on walking for us.
I love that. I want to thank you so much for being the true advocate that our students need within the classroom, being the incredible badass mom that you are to your students, being the beautiful Black woman you are in this world, and sharing that light and those talents with us. You're so appreciated, and we're so lucky to have you here
Thank you.
today. And thank you for sharing and being so open and honest with us. We appreciate it so much.
Thank y'all for having me. I loved it.
Thank you.